You're listening to a Monster Kid podcast.
Why don't we rent a video tonight?
Yeah, can we please?
On a weeknight?
Yeah, come on, Mom. It's okay.
Sure. Come on. Let's throw caution to the wind.
Put a little weekend in your week. Rent a video.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Vericon Video, a show where we relive forgotten and unforgettable movies that once line the shelves of video stores everywhere. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Jordan.
And today we're testing out a new satellite system with 666 channels of heart-pounding, skull-blasting entertainment you can't get on regular TV. We'll be channel surfing programming intended as light amusements for one very demanding viewer below. The boss himself, and I don't mean Springsteen. Sorry, we're doing that Eugene Levy laugh quite a bit, I'm sure.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. So, Jordan, would you like to introduce our special guest today?
I would indeed. Now, this guy that we have on our show today, I have known since the year 2004. We have been friends for this long. We've gone to school together. We have stayed friends all the way until right now. And in the past year or so, we've started our very own podcast called That's Not Quite All Folks, which is about the Looney Tunes. And this is a very cool podcast for me because both you and him get to be in the same podcast at the same time. Please welcome my very good friend and podcast partner in crime, Marc Halem. Marc Halem, give him a round of applause.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Hi. Yes, Brandon. I've known this guy my entire life. I can tell you some embarrassing stories if you need them.
Do not.
Only if it comes up. You can
Better not come up.
You can pepper them throughout. Yeah, thanks, Marc, for joining us. This is really exciting to have you on.
Yeah, I heard that this is a movie that has Looney Tune-esque animation in it, so I immediately had to sign up for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a sign-up sheet that we have up here in Jersey, and we haven't gotten a lot of licks, but Marc was the one that I figured, you know what, I'll just bring it past everybody else.
Join us for the ultimate television adventure in today's episode on Stay Tuned from 1992. So sit back, relax, and welcome.
Welcome to the Cafe 80s, where it's always morning in America, even in the afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I have the only gun on board. Welcome to Con Air.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Okay, good evening, America, and welcome aboard Apollo 13.
I'm so glad you could come. This is going to be such an exciting day. I hope you're enjoying it. I think you will.
Couch Potato, Roy Nabel, and his wife Helen are having marital problems over Roy's obsession with his TV. A stranger hooks him up with a free trial of an all-new satellite system, and the Nabels are sucked into the network, having to make their way from channel to channel and survive each within 24 hours to make it out alive with their souls. So, Jordan, Marc, did you or any of your relatives have big dish satellite TV?
I don't know if, big dish means something different, I think, in the 1990s than it does in the 2000s. But we had a dish for a couple of years, and one of those, millions of channels, nothing's on kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then I think within a couple of years, we went on to just your regular cable box kind of deal.
Yeah. What about you, Marc?
No, my family was always a cable family. We actually, my dad just hates dish. In fact, we were recently down at the shore in August, and the TVs there are dish TVs. And in watching it at night, it was just horrible because it would cut out, and then it would have cut to black. They'll lose the signal, and it was just horrible. So every time we went down to the shore each year, it just reconfirmed my dad's theories that dish TV is not that good.
Yeah, my grandparents and my dad, they both had the big satellite dishes in their yard, like the one in this movie. And it was terrible. Yeah. It's like if it rained at all, then forget watching anything on TV. You just couldn't get a signal. And it was the most complicated way of shifting from one channel to the next. You would have to go in and know which satellite to bring in, I guess, for the signal. And it was named G7 or B12 or something like that. So you just had to know that, okay, if my grandpa wanted to watch QVC or something, then he would have to go to G7 and then find the channel. Like there was no guide like there would be on cable. And it was just a big pain in the ass. And I hated mowing around that thing too. But
ours was at least attached to the roof rather than not like, in the middle of the ground.
Oh, right. Yeah. And
the technology changed in about 10 years.
Yeah. Dishes, they shrunk down pretty quickly. I mean, I think my grandparents still have that fucking dish in their yard just because they're like, well, I don't know how we're going to get rid of this. So,
by the way, I'm so curious. What would happen if you're at your grandparents' house and you're also playing Battleship? Like, would that throw everything off?
B7.
That's a good point.
It was a bingo kind of deal.
No, that's a good point. A little side note, completely unrelated, but my grandpa used to spend all day watching. It wasn't QVC, but it was a channel where they sold old watches. And it was just, 12 hours of watching this pocket watch or wristwatch on a little Lazy Susan, just going back and forth, and some guy singing its praises. And it was the most boring shit I've ever seen.
It's Watch. It sounds like something that would be on one of the channels in this movie.
It does. It'd have to have some really great pun in there somewhere.
Exactly.
Were there any like TV shows or programs growing up that you would watch religiously, like you couldn't miss it?
The big three at the time, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, not as much Disney Channel, but sometimes Disney Channel. In terms of shows, I don't know, and then name any early 2000s Cartoon Network show. Billy and Mandy, Courage the Cowardly Dog. In terms of Nickelodeon, you got Very Odd Parents, early SpongeBob. Okay, here's something. Here's a little early childhood me and Jordan thing. Because SpongeBob was so prominent when we were in elementary school, literally each recess session would be, did you watch the newest SpongeBob? Let's talk about the newest SpongeBob. And let's quote the newest SpongeBob episode. Essentially, there were a few that I remember clearly the next day on school ground going, dude, band geeks. Oh my God.
And then as it got worse and worse, we just like, it's not really that quotable, this one. It's more weird than anything. I second all of that. Most of those channels, a year or so where I was tuned to the Game Show Network a lot. Cartoon Network, especially when Cartoon Network was doing its June Bugs marathons where they'd rerun a lot of the Looney Tunes cartoons, just a lot of their general programming, Nickelodeon in the mid-2000s, that era. Just that sort of cluster of legendary era of cartoon programming is sort of really what I grew up with.
Yeah, I would have to say the same thing. I mean, I'd say maybe 10 years prior to you guys, but I definitely like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Comedy Central.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because Comedy Central used to show reruns of Saturday Night Live and Kids in the Hall.
They had Who's Line for the longest time as well.
Yeah, yes, that's right. They did. And Nickelodeon, gosh, what was on then? Clarissa Explains It All, Doug, Rugrats. Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, cool.
That was cool. Yeah. Hey Dude. There's a lot of interesting stuff on there. Nick at Night back then was, I watched that a bunch. But now I think Full House is on Nick at Night.
Full House has been okay. I can say for a fact, I am currently 24 years old. 11 years ago, I got into Full House because of Nick at Night. I believe every 13-year-old gets into Full House at 13 years of age because of Nick at Night.
Unless they grew up with it.
That too. Of course, unless you grew up with it. Of course, I was born right when it ended, so I didn't have that experience. But Nick at Night for me was it was Full House, and it was you wake up at 3 a.m. and George Lopez is on because of course it is.
Yes.
I'm trying to think what was on when I was watching it. I think it was like the Beverly Hillbillies.
Oh, wow.
The Honeymooners.
Oh, okay.
Dick Van Dyke. Bob Newhart.
Cool.
Oh, the Partridge Family.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. Have you guys ever fenced before?
No.
Never.
No, me neither. But I had to ask because several years ago, I decided that I was going to look for a fencing group on campus when I was in grad school. And I was really into it. I was like, this is going to be fun. And then I watched videos of people fencing and I was like, this is boring. It wasn't just swashbuckling. Like in my mind, I thought you ran around and you were fucking fighting somebody. But now it's just like a few taps and then, okay, next round or whatever. And I was like, this is boring. I do not want to do this. I don't want to spend all this money for all this gear and do this stupid thing. But anyhow, if you've ever fenced before, listeners, let us know. We'd like to hear your stories. Okay, let's get into this movie. So what is your familiarity with or surface impressions of Stay Tuned?
Mark, I think you have a bit more than me.
Yeah, this was a movie that HBO would love to show back in like the early mid 2000s. That's pretty much my impression of it. I would always catch bits and pieces of it, but never the full thing until now. Actually, I've not seen the movie in full until for this, so that was a fun experience.
It's weird because I was watching HBO Family around the same time in the early 2000s, and I never really came across this one. I think the Jeffrey Jones movie that HBO Family really preferred in the era I watched was Mom and Dad Save the World. So I would see more bits and pieces than that than I would Stay Tuned. I really didn't have a lot of knowledge of this because a couple of years ago, I was just skimming around on IMDb and I ran across this movie and I saw the concept and that it was like a horror comedy. And I'm like, what the hell is this? It just looked bizarre and it looked like this oddity of, and IMDb had it listed at like a 4.9 out of 10 because their rating system is really skewed.
Yeah.
It's like a 3 on Letterboxd or whatever. But it just really confused me, and I wouldn't hear much else about it. This is a movie a lot of people talk about, but when you're in the right circles, you hear about it once in a while. Yeah. It just fascinated me.
And I remember not long after I pitched this movie to you, Jordan, Morgan Creek announced that they're producing a series based on Stay Tuned.
Yeah, that weirded me out, that serendipity.
Yeah, that was.
I believe it was that, and there was like another thing connected with Stay Tuned that also.
I think you said something about that on Twitter.
Yeah, it was like some other coincidence. I'm like, oh come on, first a TV show, now this.
Yeah, this is a movie that I also was exposed to on HBO back in probably mid to late 90s, something like that. And I became obsessed with it. And I can't really say why. I think it's because it is so bizarre. And I think I was more fascinated by the Hell Vision culture or what was going on like with that business model or whatever than the actual programming. Yeah. I was obsessed with that remote control. I looked everywhere for a replica of that, or I've tried to contact the prop master on the show and Morgan Creek, and I was asking for resources on this replica prop forum and nothing. So it's a mystery, but I think it's a really cool prop.
No, it's a lot of this movie in terms of the prop set design is just really cool and well thought out, but we'll get into that when we actually.
Yeah. Speaking of, let's give listeners a little bit of background, a little context on Stay Tuned. It was directed by Peter Hyams and written by Jim...
Genuine? I don't know.
I'll say Genuine for now.
Yeah.
And Tom S. Parker, and stars John Ritter, Pam Dauber, Jeffrey Jones, and Eugene Levy.
And I want to give a bit of background on the director, Peter Hyams, because in my opinion, Peter Hyams is one of those directors that he made a ton of movies in a small period of time, yet forgot to make the most of them good. Yeah. Like he did, and I'm just going to list off a bunch of things that he did because a lot of them are just like either okay movies or bad movies from like the 80s and 2000s, like Capricorn 1, Outland, The Presidio, Time Cop, which has a cult following, End of Days, The Musketeer, Sound of Thunder, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Any of you guys have nostalgia for any of those, any other than Time Cop?
The only one from that list that I would say that, I have an affinity for is Time Cop.
Yeah.
Just because it was oddly another HBO movie that I really liked. I might have seen it in theaters. I don't remember. But again, there's something fascinating about it. And I love Ron Silver in that as the bad guy.
That's the one that has the horrible Ron Silver glob CGI when he meets his past self, right?
Right.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I think one is thrown into the other, and one of the rules in that world is the same matter can't occupy the same space.
Right. It's good time travel lore.
Yeah.
I will say the two Peter Hyams movies I do like, or at least enjoy a little, 2010, the year we made contact, which is at least amusing and has a good John Lithgow performance. And Running Scared, which is one of my dad's favorite movies, which is a Billy Crystal, Gregory Hines vehicle that is incredibly funny, incredibly well made, has a great villain performance from Jimmy Smits, and has so many fun elements that I wish more people could talk about.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen it. It's on my list. It's on my Netflix DVD queue that I'm trying not to just make an expansive list. I think when I first had this
Netflix
DVD
queue.
Yeah.
Hello there, time traveler. How are you?
Yeah. So I'm trying to actually watch those movies. So and not just make long lists of movies that I want to watch or should watch and never watch them.
Yeah.
So this is reportedly based on a story that aired on Unsolved Mysteries. I couldn't find any more details on that because, well, one, the search term of stay tuned is impossible to find anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is.
But, and especially with the resurgence of Unsolved Mysteries, it was more problematic. But we'll just say that that's so. Tim Burton was offered to direct this film, but turned it down to go make Batman Returns.
Chosen wisely.
Not a bad choice.
Yeah. Peter Hyams had been so captivated by the script that he repeatedly badgered Morgan Creek executives until they agreed to let him direct the movie.
Okay. Something about this was captivating to him.
Yeah. Apparently he likes these strange, weird types of films. It was shot from October 91 to January 92 for a budget of $25 million.
Now, that surprised me. The fact that in this movie they go into multiple different genres, multiple different sets, different lighting, different everything. Like each scene is its own little movie in a way. So the fact that they did all that for only $25 million, that's fascinating.
It's even more interesting when you realize that $24 million of the budget was taken up by Salt and Pepper.
Oh, Salt and Pepper. Yeah,
we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. I think we all have opinions on that.
Oh, yes, we do.
So here's a little bit of casting trivia here, and again, this is from the bowels of IMDb. Yeah. So take it as lore. Producers wanted Dan Aykroyd for the part of Roy Nabel, and the studio had
been a great Spike, though.
He would have been a good Spike. The studio had in mind Richard Dreyfuss and Tracy Ullman as Roy and Helen, but this was dropped because it would have cost an additional $500,000 for their salaries. I'm guessing the majority of that would be for Richard Dreyfuss and not Tracy Ullman at the time. But
yeah, because Tracy Ullman was still coming off of her self-titled show in the late 80s, which launched a lot of careers, most notably the careers of The Simpsons and Matt Groening.
Yes,
but she was a sort of big deal in that era. But at the same time, Richard Dreyfuss's star was fading a little because this was around the Mood Over Parador era of sure, let's do a film to keep me busy.
Yeah.
But that would have been an interesting movie, although I do like the fact that it is John Ritter and Pam Dauber trapped in TV because these are two careers that are arguably trapped in TV. John Ritter is, Mr. Three's Company, and Pam Dauber is Mindy from Mork and Mindy, and they're trying to escape from TV. So it's a really thoughtful casting.
Yeah.
I had not considered that until I read that in your notes, and I thought that was a really, really interesting observation. Yeah, I mean, if we want to apply some deeper level to this film, I think that's pretty heavy. You got these people who are trying to escape the specter of their past TV careers.
And after this film, John Ritter will no longer be trapped in Three's Company, but instead be trapped inside of the body of a big red dog. He voiced Clifford. Voiced Clifford, the big red dog.
This is how you can tell we're in the bowels of the IMDb trivia. Eugene Levy had previously starred on a TV series called Stay Tuned from 1976.
Must have been before SCTV.
Yeah, it must have been. This is probably my favorite IMDb.
Really?
Ronald Reagan was considered for the role of Spike.
What?
No, he wasn't.
Well,
no, he wasn't IMDb.
Nancy and I would like you to get back in that television and go finish the movie.
That's backwards today.
Ridiculous. But apparently Ed Harris was also considered for the role of Spike.
Yeah. I was watching this on Prime, and that came up in one of the little tidbits. And, as fitting as Jeffrey Jones is in this movie, early 90s Ed Harris would have really worked as Spike, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He could do, he's very versatile. He can be the hero. He can be the guy in Abyss But he can also be that sort of we don't know what's inside of him kind of guy that in History of Violence or in National Treasure 2. So that would have been cool.
Yeah, he brought a lot of gravity to his performance in Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah.
My guess is that Ed Harris knew this, got mad, saw a script called The Truman Show, and went, "I'll take it. I want to be in a TV-themed movie, damn it."
That's right. Yeah,
else he'll be like resigned to a decade of voicing Home Depot ads.
Oh God, yes.
Home Depot.
Damn.
Yeah, that's him.
Wasn't Gene Hackman doing like Lowe's commercials for a while?
Yeah, that was at the same time. Yeah. It was Ed Harris for Home Depot and Gene Hackman for Lowe's.
Wow.
And that was great. Like, which character actor hardware store do you want to go to? Like, I don't know who was doing Ace at the time, but you know.
I think Josh Lucas is doing.
Josh Lucas does it now.
Yeah.
And he is a lot less intimidating than the Ed Harris voice, I will say.
It opened at number 6 in the U.S. The LA Times called it a fuzzy reception.
Oh.
Did Gene Shalit write that? Stay tuned had me turning off the remote. I think it needed a Ritter more writing.
Love it. I'm not sure if this number is correct, but it says the film grossed $10.7 million domestically. That means it didn't even make back half of its budget.
This movie's also really hard to market.
Yeah, it's a comedy, but it's not like it doesn't feel like mainstream comedy. It's kind of, to me, very similar in vibes from Mom and Dad Save the World.
A little, yeah.
Because it's the same kind of screwball, quirky kind of thing.
And like, it's not quite for kids, but not quite for adults in a way.
It's strange, like, because, I mean, if we look at like the shows that are parodied in the film, it's difficult to pin down like who their target audience is.
Right.
Just because they run the gamut from wrestling, MTV type stuff, 50s, the Meet the Mansons bit, and
but we still get 30-something, which is like current.
Yeah, 30-something to life. So let's tell people where they can watch this. So you can find this one on Prime as of this recording, and there's also a Blu-ray release that came out last year. It's bare bones, but it looks good.
Also, if I may complain a bit, Vudu is my digital movie retailer of choice. It is not on there. It's on Google Play Store. It's on iTunes. It's on pretty much all the other ones, but Vudu, and that irks me.
Huh? That's odd. So you guys, you ready to walk through this movie?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm ready when you guys are.
All right, let's do it.
Stay tuned after the feature for more great previews. And now, our feature presentation.
So we open on this older couple, the Seidenbaums. We get Murray and Murray making popcorn.
For the record, as he's watching TV and he's watching Doogie Howser, MD, meaning that 90s TV star Neil Patrick Harris is in this movie before 70s and 80s TV star John Ritter ever gets there, which means advantage 90s TV.
I'd completely forgotten that that's what they were watching. Because I mean, Doogie Howser was pretty big at the time.
Yeah, it was.
And his Maury's demanding wife, Maury, get the door. I love their accents. Do you think that this takes place in Seattle? I can't remember.
Something around the Washington area, unless, of course, he's a Seattle fan that went into more of the California area. It's hard to really gauge it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if we saw any skylines, like in the montage where he's just fucking up at work. We'll get there. So a mysterious visitor comes and offers Mr. Seidenbaum. He's been personally selected for a most irresistible offer. And Mrs. Seidenbaum notices the broken bowl of popcorn by the back door. She's calling for him. There's a flash, a scream, and...
I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, oh, this new one in Ghostbusters. What the hell?
Yeah.
It's a thing. It worked. The main credits here. And this music is by Bruce Broughton, who's composed scores for The Ice Pirates, Harry and the Hendersons, Rescuers Down Under, Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey, Saw Married an Axe Murderer, Tombstone, Baby's Day Out, Krippendorf's Triumph, Lost in Space 98, and The Pledge, just to name a few.
Mark and I recently rewatched Rescuers Down Under. Mark, you have some thoughts on that movie,
as a
correct?
society should really bring Rescuers Down Under back into the mainframe when talking about 90s Disney Renaissance films. So here's what happened. So months ago, me and Jordan realized that neither of us have seen the Rescuer movies, which, Rescuers was in 1976, I believe. Rescuers Down Under was in like the
90.
What was it between? It was in 1990, so in between Little
Mermaid
and
Beauty and the Beast.
So we watched both of them over a 2-night span, and what we realized was the first Rescuers is kind of dull. It's got suspense over this little girl, but of course you do. That's how you do stories. If the little girl's in trouble, you sympathize with the little girl. Anyways, Rescuers Down Under is amazing. The animation is great. The eagle, this mythical golden eagle, which is animated by Glenn Keane, who's like top tier Disney animators of that decade. And it's action packed. It's hilarious. John Candy's in it. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
And talk about the music. Bruce Broughton's score in that movie is great. It's big and epic. It fits the movie so well. Go watch The Rescuers Down Under. It's amazing.
I don't think I've seen it since theaters, so I'll definitely have to watch it now.
Ironically, also starring a TV star, Bob Newhart.
Yes. So we get the Stay Tuned logo.
Which looks suspiciously like the TiVo logo, so I don't trust the company now because of this movie.
Also, in our credits, it shows that Peter Hyams is not only directing this movie, he's the director of photography. Double duty, Sonnenfelding it. Very nice, Peter.
That's wild. It looks good.
It does.
The photography is fine.
He gets it. He's a good cinematographer and an all right director, so I'll give him credit.
I like that. We get this voiceover narration. This is Daryl Nabel, the son. I can't remember his name, but he's the boy with the glasses from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, him!
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Cool. His opening line here is, in describing my father, a couple names come to mind. Bill Cosby, Alan Thicke. Okay, you're 0 for 2 in terms of those guys aging well, kid.
Yeah, it's like double cringe one after the other. Ooh. Roy, he's on the couch and he's channel surfing. He's a Seattle Supersonics fan, which I have this hat. I have this hat from the movie. You do. And I'm wearing it right now for this recording.
The official hat that he wears in that scene is on Brandon's head right now.
Yes.
And that's insanely weird to me.
Yeah.
But also kind of awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do weird, so. So he's watching this Errol Flynn movie, right?
Yeah, he is. First of all, I love he's a Seattle Supersonics fan. The Sonics should still exist. And at that. Never should have gone to Oklahoma City or wherever they are.
Yeah, Seattle has what, the Krakens or something now?
Yeah, Seattle Kraken.
Yeah. So he's watching the Seahawk, and Roy does a little bit of fencing. Pam Dauber is his wife, Helen. She comes in. It's funny, like how we're setting up these characters, because, I mean, right off the bat, okay, they're shoving it down our throats that he's a couch potato. Like he's got the chair, he's got the beer, he's got bags of chips and shit all over.
Yeah.
And he's quoting along with the movies. And you can tell like his wife isn't too happy about it. And she's like, "Oh, it's late." She says, I'm going to bed. I'm thinking about renting out your side of the bed." Mm-hmm. He's distracting. Huh?
Yeah. It's a very, like, it's the kind of arc that, like, okay, we've seen it before. We kind of know how this is going to go. He's going to learn not to be a couch potato.
Right. Yeah. We get the son. He's a broadcast pirate.
Yeah. And while his sister Diane dresses like an actual pirate, I believe. It was the early 90s. Fashion was weird back then.
Oh yeah. I watched a little bit of it this morning, and my God, like there's this hat that she's wearing that my mom used to wear this hat in the 90s. I don't even know what it's called, but folks, watch the movie and tell me what this hat is called, because it's a ridiculous hat. I don't want to be a pirate.
Jerry.
Jerry, hello. There was something
We're going to start quoting Seinfeld for the next hour, aren't we? So, Uncle Lee?
Yeah, we were about to go down the Seinfeld rabbit hole, and I was tempted too. I was thinking, take the pen.
Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, so Daryl throws in some exposition here about Roy's midlife crisis, and
he sets up the conflict because the film doesn't seem to have time to.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the story stuff and expositional stuff, and it's very bare bones and very basic and a little predictable.
Yeah,
just like the kids. The kids in this movie, I find were a bit, what's the word? Fake. A bit too big. like the teenage daughter is just every teenage daughter trope. Like, of course, parents are in the house. She immediately calls her friends. All the friends show up. It's just the daughter especially has no character in this movie.
Yeah, the kids.
Sounds pretty cool though.
I don't know. They're my least favorite part about this movie.
Yeah,
because we do get a lot of time with them later in the movie where it really drags. You're like, I don't really care. Like what the whole thing about when Daryl discovers that the dish sucks you in. Diane and her friends are out there with their pom-poms doing this cheerleading thing.
Because girls do that, right? That's what they usually get together. They do pom stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Right, exactly. Of course they do. And he's the nerdy little kid who can disassemble a stereo and make some kind of elaborate broadcast system later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get a little montage here of unfortunately timed things that happened to Roy on the job.
Like a suitcase gets flung onto the road, it gets run over by a truck. Okay, that at least impressed me.
I was expecting he just throws in all the stuff falls out. I was not expecting the truck.
Yeah.
No one expects the truck.
Dun,
No
dun,
one on a wall. No, that's the Spanish Inquisition.
I think my favorite one of those is he's opening like a display case of some kind and knocks his client's coffee into his lap.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. There's something about that moment that's so small, and the way John Ritter plays it, it's almost no reaction because you can tell on his face that this has been happening to him for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're back at home, the Nable's household. Roy's in his comfy chair, and he's quoting Maltese Falcon right along with the film.
He knows every word. Of course, he knows every word of the Maltese Falcon. Anybody else here quote along to the movies as they're happening? Because I certainly do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All the
Back
time.
to the Future, Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller especially.
I have a brief anecdote involving this because in high school, I took a film appreciation class, which was taught by one of my favorite high school teachers, really cool dude. And because he'd show you the good stuff, he'd show you, 1940s stuff, and gangster movies, like really good cinema. And then the last week of it, he'd throw on like something contemporarily good. Like the last week of the class, he put on Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm basically doing what I usually do when I watch this movie, where I'm quoting all the lines as it comes on. And it's done in like a theatrical setting in this class. And the teacher's going, okay, he knows that one too. Okay. And so I took it again the next semester because it's one of those things where you can take it multiple semesters and there's different films. And in his opening spiel, he's saying, and one of the things you want to remember when we're watching movies is don't quote things. Don't quote movies as they're on. I had a student last semester who knew all the words. I'm like, oh, he's right here. Okay, sorry, Jordan. And he gives a little smirk, and I'm like, all right.
I mean, it's Monty Python, the Holy Grail. If you don't expect at least one of your students to know it word by word.
You could literally duct tape my mouth shut, and I would still wriggle out of it and do the ek, batang, whoop, hong.
There's something about movie quotes for me that like I carry so many movies in my head, like where
exactly.
Even if I'm grocery shopping or if I'm in an uncomfortable situation, I'll just start saying the movie to myself.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an unusual example. Last year or 2 years ago, I was at it was kind of a mini conference or a retreat in the mountains of North Carolina with all these academics who were talking about social justice issues and that sort of thing. But there was a moment where everyone's in a circle and it's a bunch of white women talking about racism and making the people of color in the group very uncomfortable. And I was uncomfortable, and I was pretending like I was scribbling notes, but I was actually just writing all of the lines from RoboCop.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
I was just writing them in a notebook, and I was pretending to look engaged and like I was dutifully writing notes, and I was just writing, I'd buy that for $1. And yes. Sometimes I do that. Yeah, we're embracing the tangents in this one.
It's that kind of thing.
It is that kind of thing. So the kids leave the house for a bit. It's weird because their motivation is that they know their parents are having marital problems and Daryl and Diane decide to leave so that they can have some time alone. And there's a moment where Daryl even tells his mom that he has a friend who their parents were having problems, and then Dad moved out for a while, and his mom went and spent a weekend in a hot tub, and then they moved back in together, and everything was great.
Yeah.
So yeah, Helen wants her marriage to be what it was. She wants Roy to get out of the house and to go places with her. And Roy, he doesn't even want to move from this spot. So we established this conflict. And one of my favorite bits from this is she's trying to get his attention. So he pulls her to the side, sits her down. He's like, I want to tell you something that's really important to me. And I want to be completely honest and all this. She's like, oh yeah. Yeah. You can tell that she's really, okay, I finally got through to him. He's going to open up to me. And he just says, we're in double overtime here.
Such great delivery.
It is. Yeah. But she says, when I married you, you were a doer, and now all you are is a watcher. Mm. This is a great bit here where she smashes the TV with a trophy, and this reaction.
John Ritter is so good at reactions. That was one of the best things he did on Three's Company. He was great on it on 8 Simple Rules, which was his last show, which I watched a little of.
Yeah, I like that.
And he's great here doing reactions. He's got a million of them in this movie.
Yeah, he's just absolutely horrified at this, in shock that when she hurls this trophy into the TV, and he like jumps back into this recliner, and he's like, the TV. Just the horror. And then we cut, and then he's just put a smaller TV on top of the smashed one.
Amazing.
I love it. It's like a little 9-inch screen. It's so small. So then we get this news report. The Sidon bombs are still missing.
Our clue to the inciting incident.
Yes. It's like, yeah, you remember that couple from the opening? Yeah. And Jeffrey Jones as Spike appears. He was the stranger who approached the Sidon bombs earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeffrey Jones, this was 6 years after he did Ferris Bueller. Mm-hmm. And he'd been doing a lot of, very big Hollywood projects in the 1980s. He's obviously Beetlejuice and, and Howard the Duck and so on and so forth. And by the 90s, he begins to look a bit more goblin-like. Maybe it's the makeup, maybe it's the pedophilia, either way. But it's so conflicting because Jeffrey Jones he works in this movie. He's wonderfully creepy. He's excellent at playing bad guys, as evidenced by Ferris Bueller and even Howard the Duck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I want to like him in this, but at the same time, he's a detestable human being who did some truly vulgar and horrifying things off set.
Yeah.
And it's the Kevin Spacey thing. Does it aid the performance in him being a villain, or does it make it even more detestable?
Mm.
Yes, exactly. Because I think just the weird pseudo look that turns out these actors who play these villainous people in predominantly either kid films or adult films, the fact that they are actually like horrible people in real life. It's like, for example, like Kevin Spacey voices Hopper in Bug's Life. In fact, we just watched A Bug's Life, and the movie wasn't ruined for us because Kevin Spacey is the villain. He is the bad guy. You're not supposed to like him. It's weird. It's like, well, we know you're a bad person, but you're playing a bad person. So this.
It's interesting you brought that up because there is something very slimy about him that I feel like has always been there, and I think he's used that to his advantage, even in Seven or more recently. My goodness, like House of Cards. Like, he is such a despicable human being, but it's almost like this character was a version of Kevin Spacey,
right?
Because even after all this came out about the sexual assaults and stuff, he would release a video around Christmas, like 2 years in a row. Yeah, have you've seen that?
I know of him.
Yeah, well, you don't need to watch it. It's him in character as Frank Underwood, but he's making veiled references to allegations against him, and it's just really fucking weird.
I think he's just killing more people.
Yeah, because that was the weirdest thing. Like he released one of those videos, and like a day after it, one of them died.
One of his accusers, that is.
An apparent taking of his own life.
Yeah. Mm,
well, the good news is that Jeffrey Jones is either still in prison. I assume he's still in prison.
He did not go to prison. He, little tidbit here, because I looked this up not too long ago. He pleaded no contest, which I had to look this up, but it essentially means that you're not admitting to guilt, but you have to serve a punishment for it, just like a guilty plea. And so he got like a bunch of community service and had to register as a sex offender. But I believe he's back in California. He was living in Florida or something. But
that makes a lot of sense.
Which, funny enough, here's the thing. Around this time, okay, so the series of raids that led them to look for child pornography at his home was the same. It was connected to the same initiative that brought people to go into Paul Rubin's home.
Oh.
Which I believe they found erotica, but it wasn't. I don't think they found any child pornography there. But
yeah, they found it's like, it's like they're trying to make Paul Rubens look bad, like the LA incident. They're trying to make him look bad for doing things you can kind of get behind. Like, okay, he's horny, fine, sure, but he's not. It's not like he has any child pornography.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, he's a weird kind of guy, but he seems like a really kind-hearted person who just
he just needs to let off some steam.
Yeah, he was jerking off in a movie theater.
Fine, sure, don't make a whole thing out of it. Anyway, we've gotten very much off.
Sorry,
yeah. Sorry, Spike's introducing our MacGuffin here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The universal remote, and he goes into the naval's home. You fence.
Yeah, he's just futzing around with one of his swords.
Yeah, you ever kill anyone? So of course not. So he introduces himself as Spike. So I know about you, Roy. Success is like a fly buzzing around your head. Whenever you reach for it, you grab it, and all you get is nothing. And you're tired of nothing, Roy. And wait till she gets a load of this, talking about his wife. 666 channels of heart-pounding, skull-blasting entertainment, comedy, drama, hot oil aerobics like nothing you've ever seen, brother. I love that
he's good at this. He's really good at this.
Yeah, and he kind of gets at that raspiness that he brought from Howard the Duck.
Yes, exactly. Not as much, but
not
a
as
little
much.
bit.
Yeah, a brand new 44-inch, 900-line resolution, 3-way expanded matrix Dolby stereo TV right here, Roy. So yeah, he puts a contract in his face, and Roy's like, "Nah, I can't do it." And so just as Spike's about to leave, he says, "Oh, did I mention the free trial?"
Of course,
we all fall for the free trial. We all do.
We do.
Yeah, we're guilty.
Of course.
We cut immediately to this satellite dish installed in the backyard with someone like a technician who's working on it. And Spike says, you have to adjust the dish to fine-tune reception. And the guy demonstrates how to do that. And of course, it's a big thunderstorm and all that. And then Spike gets in the van to leave. He's not driving. He gets in the passenger seat. And so I want to know how that dish got there, how that technician got there, and was the technician the person who was driving? I'm so confused.
Probably.
Just like it just materialized.
If you're that good at your job, you got to assume they're going to say yes every time. To just have the dish packed in there.
Yeah.
Just snap it into the actual ground. You're dealing with devil's magic or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, he's driving like a little soccer mom minivan kind of thing. But I like that he drives away and then the asphalt in the road opens up and he just
that's a great effect.
It still holds up.
I love that effect.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we have the dominoes set up here. The dish is set up. Spike's laughing, knowing he's going to get comeuppance eventually. Helen comes home. Things have to happen now.
Yeah, and we get a little bit of this the programming on
Three Men and Rosemary's Baby. Amazing. Sadistic hidden video. Again, it's the demented sense of humor this movie has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid even thinking the sadistic hidden video thing, my family would watch Candid Camera and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And we thought it would be funny if our Bob, dressed as a policeman, would tell a perfect stranger her husband was dead. I don't know. It's just very strange.
Yeah. We are big America's Funniest Home Videos fans.
Mm-hmm.
So
Tom Bergeron version.
Yes.
This but Helen comes home soon after, and what's so funny is that her reaction, she just screams. And we see this TV, and there's something about the way this TV is designed. Like it's something, it's so over the top and so obnoxious looking. Like it's tacky. And it's, just calm down. Just keep an open mind. It's the whole satellite system. Over 600 channels. Got it on a free trial. And she's gone. She's about to leave.
Yeah.
Leave Roy.
She packs a suitcase just because he gets a new cable system, which is that an unnatural escalation to anybody else but me?
Her problem is, I think her problem is the fact that her husband's a couch potato. And sure enough, instead of trying to improve their relationship, he just goes and buys him and gets himself a bigger, grander television to just further cement himself as being a couch potato. So in a way, it's kind of like a double confirmation to her that, oh, he's not going to change. He's made it even worse now. It's getting to the point of irredeemable.
Yeah, because I mean, she's been trying very hard just this night to get his attention from the television. It's like she can't get anywhere with him. And so, I mean, there's no telling what's happened leading up to this moment.
Exactly.
So it's probably just,
fair.
this is it, last straw.
Right.
And so she's about to leave. And of course, there's a storm outside. And the dish starts to ramp up its beeping and turning towards them. And the satellite dish sucks them in. And we have our movie.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. I love this wire effect that we have as they're sort of going through the little TV. It's very practical, but it also has aged well.
Yeah, it looks good. It's just, at the end of that is Jeffrey Jones's face.
Yes, exactly. That sends nightmares throughout the entire theater.
As we go down the wiry wormhole into his mouth.
Yeah.
Our first program is this game show called You Can't Win.
Which is weird because I think that was the name of there was when Chevy Chase hosted SNL in 1980, he did a game show sketch called You Can't Win. And he was on such a cocaine-fueled flop sweat breakdown in the middle of the sketch that, like, I think Burt Comvey was one of the guests on it. And Chevy was he blows a line, he messes something up, and he's just like a shell of himself. And you can even see Burt Convey looking at Chevy Chase and going, "What the hell?" So I think of You Can't Win, and I think of that.
Ooh. They do have the announcer.
Yes.
Yeah, they have Don Pardo.
Because from the mid '80s to like the '90s, Don Pardo, both in the pop culture zeitgeist and probably in himself, because he probably has to be in on the joke by this point. He just gains this meta status and just starts showing up in things like Stay Tuned or Weird Al's I Lost on Jeopardy video.
Yeah, because if you have a voiceover legend like Don Pardo, use him for things. He'll be in on it. He loves it. He knows who he is. That's why he kept doing Saturday Night Live for so long. And I love that they got him to do this.
Yeah, but strangely enough, he doesn't do the SNL parody.
That's what confused me.
That is weird.
Because he should have. Because you have him, use him. It turns into a morality play that makes Roy feel like an ass about how he's treated Helen. And this is a very predictable movie so far. But we eventually go into the control room where we get some actual good stuff.
Yeah, Eugene Levy as this producer type.
Look, he's excellent at playing these sort of nebbish characters in SCTV or the Christopher Guest films. But he's actually working as this sort of, for a while, he's in control. He's he's got his shit together. He's in a good position. Yeah, I like him in this movie mostly because I like him in most things. He's very funny. And he introduces the whole conceit that several other people are going through the same rungs of hell as the Nables. They're measured in souls batted in, which is a very funny gag. It's like Spy Kids 3D, only less coke fuel. And the stakes are if the Nagels survive 24 hours, they get to go home. Yeah, very standard sci-fi fantasy movie kind of stakes thing.
And of course, this is explained to an intern, a new employee. I don't know his name.
Mr. Pierce.
Mr. Pierce. Yes. Mr. Pierce, who is a UCB film graduate.
Yeah, he did his thesis on Kurosawa and Spike Lee. That's a correlation that holds up even in 2020. Yeah.
All film students go to hell. Wait.
They do. Either they go to hell or they go to NYU. Same thing. I'm sorry. Any NYU grads that are listening to this. Jared, I'm sorry.
So on this Jumbotron, there's a message saying that, remember that Tuesday is Saddam Hussein's Saddam Hussein Appreciation Day.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's a very popular holiday, yes.
Yeah, very 90s, early 90s.
And then we get, of course, Mrs. Seidelbaum, because, obviously the Seidelbaums, this is where they went. Mrs. Seidelbaum gets crushed by Godzilla. She's out of the competition. That's a funny gag.
Noble way to die, by Godzilla.
Of course.
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston said the same thing. Here, also in the control room, we get some really good shots and cinematography, like the shot of Spike, Pierce, and Crowley against the Neon World board.
Yeah.
Like, Peter Hyams has occasional moments of, yeah, let's do this. This is cool. And the stuff in the control room, which is honestly some of the more interesting parts of the movie. There's some good stuff there.
Yeah, I like this set. Like, I love the production design here. And you can tell that the big conference table and the lighting and everything, like, so much of this is borrowed from the War Room from Dr. Strangelove.
Yes. Later on, we see actual Dr. Strangelove show up.
Yes.
Which I completely missed ever since I've been watching this movie. Eugene Levy. He's so funny in this. Like,
he is.
He's got these great deliveries, and he makes a joke, and Pierce is like, what are you, some kind of comedian? He's like, what's up from Liberace in Vegas?
Love him. I love him so much. I'm glad he's getting the career renaissance with Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
Absolutely. I love his turn here when he realizes Spike's about to send him into the field. Great acting, especially playing against type. He's one of the secret MVPs of this movie, I will say.
Yeah, absolutely. They spin the wheel to find out where they go on their fantasy vacation, and all the options are door number 1. And door number 1 it is. And so they're thrown next into this mixed pairs wrestling against the Gorgons. This announcer here, I can't remember his name, but he's a former wrestler. He was in the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Oh.
In the 90s.
Lou Albano?
He was Mario.
Not Captain Lou Albano, right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God! They got. I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, mixed pairs wrestling. No holds barred. No transfusions allowed.
And even the ref is going, okay, everything goes. Maim, murder each other. I don't care, but keep it clean.
But keep it clean. Yeah.
That's like, how?
Yeah.
And this sequence is, John Ritter getting hurt. You can get hurt a million times and it'll still be funny. But it's just very, this is the deal that we thought we'd be getting. So, although I do enjoy Helen eventually kicking the shit out of both the Gorgons, which is a good little turn.
Yeah, it's great whenever he's like, "Oh, don't worry, it's
fake.
I've watched enough wrestling. I know it's fake." Yeah,
yeah. Well,
it's like, run for your life, Helen. Yeah. So then we're back into the real world with Daryl, and he's noticing the dish, and he's checking it out, and he's watching a little bit of TV.
How did James Dean really die? Found out on Autopsies of the Rich and Famous. I did an audible what when I saw that. That is dark humor to the nth degree.
And what's so funny about that is, like, it's a joke, like, oh, haha, Autopsies. Yet now we get, like for example, like, I remember there being, like, a Dateline or 2020 or something about Casey Kasem's last days or whatever. And it's kind of similar to that, really. It's like, so here's the person. They died. But how did they really die? Who was in on it? Why were they in on it? Was it for the money?
Oh, yeah.
Casey Kasem's last days. I imagine that would just be finding out. And his final words were, next up on our countdown. Sorry to the family of Casey Kasem, I apologize.
So, yeah, then we get welcomed to, we get northern overexposure.
The story of a New York doctor who comes to Alaska, complains about everything, and then freezes to death. That made me laugh.
So Daryl, he thinks that this is part of the whole getaway and rekindle the marriage plan since they're gone. Like, I think Helen had left a note on the fridge saying they were going to be away for a while.
She did, yeah.
And so they're in Alaska, the Nables are, and they run into Mr. Crowley, and he's digging in the snow with an axe, and he's like, "Get away! This is my hole."
And to quote Pavement, "Out come the wolves."
Yeah, so we get the wolves that are after him, and so they seek refuge in this little shack, and he tells them, "Okay, you can move from channel to channel by finding these conduits, which is just a portal of white noise that will take you to another channel." And so he's digging in the snow to try to find one, and then we get we're back in the real world. Daryl is starting up the dish, and his bike and hat gets sucked in.
Yeah, I like the practical wind effects here. By the way, just to rectify an earlier joke, Out Come the Wolves was not Pavement, it was Rancid. I got my 90s bands mixed up. I'm a fake 90s rock listener. Cool. Even if we are agreeing that the Daryl and his sister characters are a bit more filler and more Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of stuff, then it's very good practical wind effects. I like that. And then we get back into the show and the casual reveal that Eugene Levy's fingers are breaking off. I like that.
Yeah, he's been telling them about the whole competition, or, you've got 24 hours. The chances of you making it are, and he's enumerating them on his fingers and they just break off. He's like, oh my. Cole's no place for a stiff.
Only Eugene Levy can sell that.
Yeah, so Spike had sent him for field work because he implied that something was Spike's fault because there was somebody who apparently had made it through the 24 hours before. Yeah, 30-something to life is the next program. Yeah.
Silencer of the Lambs, very 1990s. That didn't work as well for me. Once they brought out Silencer of the Pets sold separately, that one worked.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
And a lot of these interludes and quick gags have a very Kentucky Fried Movie quality. Sort of like, okay, we're doing topical jokes that are work in 1977 or 1992, but they may not work contemporarily.
Yeah.
So, just sticking them to the wall and see which ones actually grow mold.
I'm glad you both are very knowledgeable about film and pop culture in general, so that you at least have some semblance of being able to catch some of these jokes.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas I think a lot of people, probably your age or younger, might not be familiar with all this. They might not know what Northern Exposure is or 30-something.
You bask in enough media, and the media gets, little hooks to other media, and you sort of just end up getting more pieces of the puzzle of the time you weren't around or breathing yet.
Yeah.
If The Simpsons made fun of it, it's big enough for us to know about it.
Right.
Or if it appeared on a VH1, I love the 80s or less than 90s.
Yes. Yes.
Crowley says he's moving on to warmer megahertz. And so the
wolf waiting on the roof to attack Eugene Levy here.
Yes.
The timing of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's exiting this little shack, and he's it's all clear.
And the wolf's on top of the shed. That's amazing. I love that little detail.
How'd he get up there? We go to the next one. After Helen and Roy drop into the conduit.
We're in the Chuck Jones sequence, right? Which is what we were brought in to talk about.
So this Chuck Jones sequence, this was the scene that I would usually find myself tuning into whenever HBO would be on. It was just a coincidence. Like, oh, good, we're at the Chuck Jones sequence. And what I love is this brief period in time. This really could not happen today. Of this brief time between 1990 with Gremlins 2, 1992 with Stay Tuned, and 1993 with Mrs. Doubtfire, where people in Hollywood just went, we want an animated sequence in our movie, so let's get renowned Looney Tunes director Chuck Jones to do it. Because why not? He's a freaking legend. Let's have him do about 5-6 minutes of stuff for our film. And he would say yes, because this was the early 90s, and I guess he wasn't getting too much work.
Well, I honestly equate it to Stan Lee's 15-year victory lap of doing all the Marvel characters, starting around Mallrats and going until his death. And Chuck Jones basically had a similar victory lap because A, the Looney Tunes cartoons remained relevant. B, the Looney Tunes had so many famous fans in the 1980s. And C, Joe Dante.
Yes, Joe.
Inner Space.
Yeah. Yeah, we watched that not too long ago.
We did, and Chuck Jones is just there in the line in the supermarket and holding a Bugs Bunny doll. And Joe Dante not only is influenced by Chuck Jones, but he uses Chuck Jones not only as an animator, but as an actual actor. He's a friend of Chuck Jones, and Chuck Jones will show up in Inner Space and in Gremlins too, and in a lot of his stuff.
That's wonderful.
And that, of course, moves him into the Stan Lee sort of recognition kind of light, which leads to his Oscar in the mid-90s.
Yeah. Wow. This sequence had already been in production for 6 months when filming of the live action bit began. So
cool.
they were already working on this. So, oh my God, we're cartoons. And Helen's like, strange. I'm an animated rodent wearing high-heeled running shoes.
Yeah. Well, there are good lines of dialogue here and on, but Pam Dauber sells this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No time has passed for Chuck Jones. The animation of this is fantastic. This sequence is making it very clear to Daryl what's really going on because he's watching at home and he sees his parents as cartoon mice. The animation is very fast moving and moves on demented gags like the toaster overheating Helen and Roy so much that the RoboCat spits them out. And even American Gothic is terrified of them, which is a very good Chuck Jones gag.
Yeah. But
what I was referring to earlier about Pam Dauber, as they push a hairdryer in the tub with this RoboCat that's chasing them, Helen just turns to the camera and goes, "Kids, don't try this at home," which is a great read. Pam Dauber is doing really, really well here, and that's just another really good read of hers.
I like the moment just a little bit earlier in the sequence whenever she's talking to herself saying, I can't do this anymore. I'm Helen Nabel. I live at 1352 Blue Jay Court, and I have 2 beautiful children. But I love that she says, I have an MBA.
Just a bit obvious so the kids can know.
Yeah. But I just love when she takes the pictures out and even the kids are drawn as mice.
Yes.
That's nice.
That's
a great detail right there.
That's very good. It occurred to me in the middle of this that Helen and Roy's mouse stuff here reminds me of a Looney Tunes cartoon that I think Mark can vouch for called The Mouse That Jack Built.
The Mouse That Jack Built. In case listeners don't know that one, it was a Looney Tunes cartoon made because both Warner Brothers and the comedian of that time, Jack Benny, imagine Woody Allen but less creepy. Yes, okay. So pretty much you have this
funnier.
Yeah, so he talked this radio show, and they both use acclaimed voice actor Mel Blanc. So I guess as a nice little appease for both parties, Warner Bros. Decided to make a short with the Jack Benny cast called The Mouse That Jack Built. And it's good, from what I remember. It's been a long time since, but
yeah. It has a live action ending, but it's very cool.
Because if you have Jack Benny, you use all of Jack Benny.
The whole cast of his radio show is there, including Mel Blanc. It's a cool short. It's not the best of that era, but it's fine.
I'll have to check that out. I like Jack Benny.
Yeah.
I'm actually really surprised.
He's great.
Yeah, I'm really surprised to actually hear you talk about it because I think he's still very funny. I think a lot of the comedians from that time, I think the humor, some of it still works.
Yeah, my favorite Jack Benny thing. This isn't necessarily a bit he would do. It's just something I found, which is there's one time on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson where for the entire show Johnny Carson had Jack Benny and Mel Blanc on. On that show, the Muppets were also slated to perform, and Johnny Carson interviewed Jim Henson with Kermit on his arm. When they cut to the credits at the end of this broadcast, because the whole thing's on YouTube, when they cut to the end of the broadcast, it pans out to reveal that Jack Benny and Mel Blanc were sitting on the couch next to him, which means there's a moment in time where Kermit the Frog and Bugs Bunny are in the same room together, which is amazing.
Wow.
That could have been amazing if we had actually seen Mel interact with Jim and Kermit.
Oh, man.
I'd just blow up. And for the record, anybody listening who wants further Jack Benny watching, I gave people homework in the training day episode, so watch the original To Be or Not to Be. It's phenomenal.
Nice.
And it's also very good for the times right now.
There's a moment here where Roy sends out for this Acme dog.
Yes.
And the letter, I didn't even notice this. I'm glad you pointed this out.
Chuck Jones is on the
He's
stamp.
on the stamp.
And it's a letter to Acme.
Yeah.
It's complete total Warner Brothers logic, and it works. It's warranted. Again, you have Chuck Jones. Let him flex. He's deserved it by this point.
Absolutely.
Helen goes through first, and Roy takes a little long. He has to subdue the dog with the Acme dog or whatever. And as Roy leaves, the Looney Tunes theme plays. And Roy does it, "That's all, folks," which is very cheeky.
What I love about that is okay, at the time, this studio, Morgan Creek, were they an independent studio? Were they like up and coming at this point?
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
My guess is, because they played the Looney Tunes like ending theme, "That's all, folks." So my guess is like when they did the meeting with Chuck, like, "Hey, listen, here's what we generally want. Can you talk to the guys at Warner Brothers so we can end our little cartoon bit, but that's all, folks?" And Justice going, "Okay, fine, I'll let you have it, but you have to let me have my signature be in the end credits." Okay, fine, sure. And sure enough, in the end credits of this movie, it says, "Animation by Chuck Jones, signature."
Yes.
Because again, he's
Very
a legend,
cool.
and he deserves it.
That's really cool. I mean, he does have like that iconic signature.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Variety has said that this 6-minute cartoon interlude has a grace and depth sorely lacking in the rest of the movie. Would you agree?
Well, I don't think it's that bad, the movie. I mean, honestly, there's enough zaniness in the rest of the movie that, this is sort of fits in well. But I do think there's a lot of energy that the rest of the movie could have used.
I mean, there is the moment where Roy is very apologetic about his behavior and stuff. And I don't know, there seems to be where they have like a real moment.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That moment, funny, where just Roy's going, "You look really sexy as a mouse," or something like that. I'm just thinking in my head, there is an internet fan base for you, buddy.
Wait like 20 years.
Yeah. We should ask Lewis. I bet he knows what it is.
Oh, no.
I can't do an episode with Lewis without him bringing up porn. It's so great.
Lewis is great because he doesn't have the sort of like ethics and boundaries that most podcasters have. Because he'll just go in to talk. Like he made RMR an OnlyFans so they could watch porn. It's like he doesn't care about like having like, you know, class.
Yeah.
I love him though. He's a good friend.
Yeah, he is. He's a good guy.
Mark, hopefully one day you'll meet him. He's a good guy.
Different strokes. It's
different
That's
strokes.
Great. I love that.
We get a 1-2 punch of different strokes and my three sons of bitches.
My three sons of bitches. That might be my favorite.
I don't see a reason why it wouldn't be.
That's some great.
Someone had way too much fun writing these.
Oh yeah.
We will definitely know that when we get to the end credits because they just go full like.
Yeah.
They let him rip. But we land in Saturday Night Dead.
Mm-hmm. Dwayne's Underworld.
Which places this right in 1992.
Yeah. This is a perfect opportunity to have Don Pardo.
Maybe he only paid for one part of the movie.
Or maybe it's the fact that they're like, okay, Don, can you just say live from the Underworld, it's Saturday Night Dead, and Don just goes, do you know how many newspapers have said that? No.
They've been saying it since 1982.
I'm sick and tired of it.
I'd read that Mike Myers and Dana Carvey were offered cameos as Dwayne and Garth, but allegedly they passed because they were busy with the movie Wayne's World.
That'd be way too cool. Just all of a sudden, boom, Wayne Brady. all of a sudden, Mike Myers and Dana Carvey just show up in this.
I mean, it would ruin the effect. Honestly.
Yeah, it would kind of take you out. But I mean, yeah, but they do this great bit where they hold up a sign and say, "Would you please read what you see on this card?" And it's, "I worship satin excrement." It's just an eye and a piece of satin and a warship. Yeah, and I like the shot of the crowd. There's this guy with a Lucifer.
There's a guy with a Lucifer 316 sign. That is dedication right there. That's a great
It's
guy.
good, yeah. They do this extreme close-up headbutt with the camera.
Yeah.
Extreme close-up on Mr. Nabel. Ah. This is a really good recreation of the basement set.
Yeah. And it is definitely really cool that in 92, Wayne's World was right for parody before the movie came out. Like, it was enough of a pop culture touchdown just being a solid SNL sketch. Mm-hmm. Like, that's cool. Yeah. And these guys do good jobs at impressions. And, of course, it's a really good recreation and as well as parody of the actual 8H set. So it's impressive.
Yeah.
I think something to bring up is when they do these parodies, because there's a way you can do parodies of something and it comes off as cynical. Like, okay, you're making fun of this, but you don't really like it. Mm-hmm. With this movie and all the parodies it does, you can tell the people behind it really do love TV. They actually do respect the medium, because there are some content creators out there who claim they like the media, but I don't believe you.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, you can tell that there is love, for a lot of these old shows and just TV and pop culture in general.
Yeah.
So then we're on to this next bit of programming. It's a film noir.
Yeah, I love Roy's inner monologue here. Oh, great, I'm in some old movie, must be on cable. It's a great line.
Yeah, and I like that he's taking a moment to kind of get his bearings. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'm in some old movie, must be on cable. So he's almost like, it's almost like he's trying to figure out, okay, how am I expected to behave, in this particular environment so that I can make it through to the next one.
It occurred to me right around this point when I watched it that I like the scenes in the control room with Spike and Pierce and Don Calfa, who's now showed up, more than some of the TV parodies that Roy and Helen land in. The way this world works really intrigues me, and I wish they would do more with that rather than just doing straight parody.
Yeah, I like this too. Don Calfa, man, he's another one of those great character actors that pop up from time to time. I liked him in, what was it, that Dudley Moore movie? Oh, 10?
I haven't seen that one, but it's Blake Edwards, so I should.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean,
I know him from, he was in Return of the Living Dead, right?
Yeah, I think, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yes, that was him. Okay,
yeah, I think so. But yeah, I agree with you, Jordan. I think that this stuff is what really intrigued me the most when I watched this, when I was younger. And yeah, I mean, this was the kind of stuff that I looked forward to because I love this production design and it was just really fascinating what it was they were doing. Like the whole thing is that all this programming is to entertain Satan.
Yes.
These light amusements, as Spike calls them. And even Mr. Pierce makes a point that he dislikes Spike's lack of subtext. That's when he comes back with, it's not about subtext. It's about amusing Satan.
Yeah. I like this runner of like Mr. Pierce being smarter than everyone in the room. Not only because he's a college intern, but just because the fact that in his mind, he's thinking we can go darker. We can go more twisted than what we're already doing. And the movie's already demonstrating some pretty twisted things. So I have a good underlining character trait of this character that hopefully we'll see more.
Yeah, the thing about Mr. Pierce's character that I find a little confusing is that he's an intern, but yet at the same time, it's like he's vying for Spike's position.
Yeah.
Like there are times where he says that he feels like he could do better to Spike. I'm flattered you think I could fill your shoes, but I'm ready to try. I don't know. I think that's kind of curious. But then we get, what is this? The exorcisist.
The exorcisist.
Yes, which is not a new joke, but it works. The spontaneous combustion made me laugh.
So I feel it burn. One just bursts into flames.
I like that because it feels a lot during this movie like they're going to make the kids get sucked into the dish, and that's going to be the stakes for the third act. And it feels like that's what they're going to do. But I like that this movie keeps them from getting sucked in. It would be too cheap and too inevitable. And the whole movie, I was waiting for that to happen, and it doesn't, and I'm impressed that it doesn't.
Right. Let's see, Roy, we find out that Helen's been kidnapped and taken to this club Seidenbaum, and Roy finds out, he's Seidenbaum, oh my God, that's my neighbor. He borrowed my lawnmower. So Seidenbaum is this kind of head honcho in this noir world. And I love this bit where he's talking to Helen, and he even has this little statuette, this little stand-in for the Maltese Falcon that he breaks, and his remote's in there. But what's funny is she's like, where's my husband? And he's like, what are you worried about him for? I ditched my wife 5 channels ago. Yeah,
that's great.
She happened to meet the business end of a 50-ton reptile, and I can tell you. I don't exactly miss dried meatloaf.
That's some good writing right there. I'll give him that. I like Seidelbaum's doubling. I like the doubling to Roy in Seidelbaum, not wanting to leave, choosing to be passive over active. Obviously, going back to the central conflict. In a film where the central conflict is pretty obvious and kind of easy to resolve, it's nice to have that sort of doubling to say, like, you could be like me and continue to do this, and then of course he's dead in a couple of scenes.
Yeah.
I think I like this noir sequence better than a lot of the live action channels we've seen. It's very lifelike, not too bent on parody and demented. Just a really solid noir scene. And I love that everyone just pulls out guns.
That was great.
Yeah,
everybody's got a gun.
Yeah. Seidenbaum gets shot, and he's like, take my remote, get out of here. And and so now they've got a way out. And Roy, I mean, he's really stepping it up here. Like he punches a guy in the face as soon as he walks in, and he walks away shaking his hand. That it hurts. But I like this where he gets his gun, but it's way down in his pants, and so he has to reach way down in there to get it. But yeah, so he and Helen escape to the next channel, off with his head. It's a French Revolution story.
Yes, a story of love, danger, and cross-dressing. Which is also, I believe, the tagline to the movie Ed Wood. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
Yeah.
It's a great film. Yeah, this is a great bit because Roy is dressed like a woman, and Helen's just like, Roy, you have boobs.
Oh, they're not mine.
I like that he takes a moment where he's like, oh, shit. And he's feeling them. Oh, they're not mine.
Of course, because it's the 90s. We can do that. And also, Eugene Levy's back.
Yeah.
He's missing a leg, but he's back.
Right, yeah. He says that he was able to escape the wolves by letting them gnaw on one of his appendages.
Which is a line only Eugene Levy can work.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we cut back to the control room. Yeah, at first I saw this. It's just a guy in a wheelchair. Maybe it's because I was used to watching it on VHS and you really couldn't see much detail. But he's dressed just.
That's Dr. Strangelove.
He's Dr. Strangelove. Like he's got the hair, he's got the cigarette.
Because why not?
That was bizarre. It confused the hell out of me.
Yeah, me too. And so back in the French Revolution era TV movie, and they're in this. The Nables are in this little cafe. And these officers come in and you're both under arrest for being too beautiful.
First of all, why are your French soldiers Russian? Yes, I am clearly Frenchman. I go have baguette and go see Edith Piaf. Yes, of course.
Is that like this barman is trying to explain to these soldiers that Roy is the Marquis de Nable? So he is wanted. Of course she's wanted, you fool. By me.
It's literally just it's a Looney Tunes bit. It's the bit where Bugs Bunny's dressed as a woman and Elmer Fudd is smitten.
Yes.
Isn't she lovely?
The whole what is it? It's the opera short with Bugs.
Oh, what's
Opera Doc?
Yeah. That's a great one. But yeah, so Roy,
it's a classic. We're going to be covering that one in a little bit.
Oh, good.
Oh yes, we will.
So they capture Roy and he's taken to the guillotine. I like that he says, "Hi fellas, I loved you in Star Wars."
It's great. John Ritter is one of the best part of the movie by far.
Yeah. Any last request? Yeah. How about the long version of Stairway to Heaven?
And by that, he means the version. There is no short version of Stairway to Heaven unless the radio butchers it, which they should never do.
Yeah. So the whole time, like Daryl and Diane are plotting to somehow break through using his technical knowledge of building a jamming device to get through and hack the signal. And he's able to get his voice through.
Sorry if I'm confused. Is this the part where he has that conversation with the dog, or is that later?
What he's built doesn't have enough power, and so he goes to hack.
Okay.
And to get more power, and the dog gets after.
Here's my issue with that dog. They're trying to raise the stakes there. Like, oh, look at this fierce dog. That dog's a good boy. Like, watching that scene, I'm like, that's not a mean dog. That's clearly a good. I don't know if the dog's acting was bad or the acting coach or whatever, but watching this, I'm like, yeah, that boy is not in any danger whatsoever.
No. Literally. I guess they couldn't find a fiercer dog actor.
Guess so.
Apparently not.
Yeah, Roy hears his voice. Daryl, my God. God? Yeah, Helen sees an opportunity. He's like, yes, God. Isn't that right, God? So
that's a Mel Brooks joke.
So Daryl, he pretends to be the voice of God and tells him to release his father. Somehow this apparatus he's built shorts out. But it doesn't matter. The Nables have made it to 24 hours, and Crowley's like, well, they should have sent you two home by now. And back in the control room, Spike's not happy. Pierce says, sir, speaking for the staff, we'll all miss your kind words and inspiring leadership. But what I find confusing about this is like, so if somebody made it, does he lose his job?
I imagine, because maybe nobody's ever made it before.
Yeah. Except that one wiry little Peruvian chap that Crowley talks about. I don't know if that was a reference to something. If it was, it totally was lost on me.
I don't know.
But anyway, this woman, I can't remember her name, but she says that the contract was for Roy only, and you brought in two people, and he sees an opportunity. Spike does, and it's like, and he goes and kisses her, and he's like, "Ooh, you're the ugliest bitch in perdition, but you gave me a beautiful idea." And just drops her. And I love this sound effect. It's so loud. Just pop. So he tells one of the technicians to discharge Mr. Nable.
The movie has another 20 minutes, so of course only Roy gets zapped home. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So he gets home. Yeah, Spike, he goes in and he confronts Crowley. And I like that Spike has this gigantic robe on. Like it's, I don't know, it's probably 50 feet long. I don't really get that.
No subtlety with Jeffrey Jones.
But he's zapped to a different channel with Helen. And we're getting a train coming towards Tied Up Damsel climax here.
What can I say? I'm a sucker for a big ending, he says.
I'm a sucker for a big ending. She says, oh, you sadistic bastard. And Spike says, runs in the family. My father was an oil company president.
That still works.
He can make those lines work so well.
Yeah.
And Roy goes back in, which is weird. Shouldn't he start back at level 1 rather than going straight to Helen?
Right. And how is he able to go directly to her channel?
Plot convenience movies nearly.
Yeah.
Well, look, what is important is we've already had our potential first climax in the French scene, so now we have to go to our second climax.
Yeah.
This movie has too many climaxes.
The Western scene.
Yeah.
I love how as Roy goes to face Spike, they're already measuring him for a coffin.
Oh yeah, he's about 6'1". Yeah, it's
great.
good. It's a little. What is this? What, Good, Bad, and the Ugly kind of thing?
Something like
Yeah.
that. Spaghetti Western or High Noon or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He faces off against Spike. Spike shoots him. Of course, the bullet hits the remote instead.
If sound is dismayed by the bullet hitting the remote, it's because this movie isn't really trying anything new. Like, a bullet hits the thing that isn't a person, so the movie can be another 10 minutes longer. Great, we've never seen that.
Right.
I'm trying to keep an open mind with this movie. I like a lot of this movie, but it keeps doing a lot of things that have been done before by other movies.
Yeah.
And as if the climax wasn't frenzied enough, we just keep surfing and we end up in Star Trek, with Jeffrey Jones is playing multiple characters here.
Yeah. I do like this reaction from John Ritter whenever he's dressed like Picard and he reaches up and he touches his bald scalp and he just has this look of horror. It's great. But
great. I don't know if this Star Trek bit or a lot of these other climactic channel bits were needed. They just keep milking the premise. While it does give us driving over Miss Daisy, which is funny.
Oh yeah.
It's milking. And of course we get this next bit that's also really funny where Roy lands in Three's Company. Of course he does. We were all waiting for it. John Ritter literally screams in terror about being his own show. I love that gag so much.
It's good. Yeah, and then inevitably we end up in the Flynn film from the beginning. Good sword fighting scene here.
Awesome. I mean, but the thing is, and Mark, I think, was saying about the same thing before we got on, is that this is a really good fencing sequence, and this would be a great climax.
Mm-hmm. It's not.
We cut to an unnecessary salt and pepper video.
Yeah, so it's pretty much my big issue with this moment, I think Jordan can agree with this, is that from the beginning of this movie, we have set up. He was big into fencing. He was really good at fencing. So here comes this moment where they're in the movie, from the beginning of the film, he's given a fencing sword, and this should be the end. This should be like there's this big climactic sword battle sequence, and then it ends there, gets the remote, he goes to the Western place, gets Helen, and the movie. But no, because we got contract obligations to fulfill, or whatever. I don't know. Because then it just goes into a salt and pepper video.
Salt and what's this? Pepper!
I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think that, Roy's experience with fencing like this is like a prime opportunity for this to come into play and be the thing that makes him win the day and defeat Spike. I mean, I know they're trying to cover their bases with all these different types of genres, and MTV, of course, was very popular at the time. But yeah, I understand why it doesn't work for you guys. I mean, it does interrupt things. I do like what John Ritter is doing. Like he's trying to fit in, like to the other dancers, and he's trying to dance. And he's wearing this ridiculous outfit. But yeah, I mean, he disposes of Spike pretty easily once he's able to get a hold of the remote.
Yeah,
it doesn't have a lot of weight to it. Spike is just trying to backpedal. He said, "Hey, all right, you win, but why don't we work together? We'll come up with some dynamite programming." Chairman will love it. Knock him off his hooves.
It's
but yeah, he's just like, "Sorry, Spike, you're canceled." And puts him into the TV.
It's just so long. It's the
video.
Full, yes, the music video. It's so long, and for me personally, it wasn't that funny. It was doing that thing of, keep the remote away from the main characters, and it's annoying. We're nearing the end of this movie. We want to go home now. Both the main character and us, the audience.
Yeah. And then Roy's able to get back to the Western and save Helen. She's, of course, tied to a stack of dynamite on railroad tracks, and they figure out to turn the remote off, and that's how they're able to escape before they're plowed over by the train. And back in the swashbuckling scene, Spike is the dog had been zapped into the dish. Spike is, I think he's hanging from the chandelier or something. Eugene Levy shows up in this in armor, and just takes an axe and cuts the rope. I guess Spike is eaten by this dog. I don't know.
Amazing.
Jeffrey Jones just has bad luck with dogs. Yes, Ferris.
Yes, he does.
Dogs.
Yeah, good point.
Mice he's good with.
So,
Mice he's Stuart Little, perfectly fine. No.
Not so much. Nables are sent back home. We end this quickly and evenly, and Roy opens up a fencing studio, and we're out of there.
Yeah, and it's a very quick ending. And it's I wish the pacing of this climax was a little better. I mean, maybe some contractual things happened where the studio said we need to put in a Salt and Pepper video to put in new viewers, and then they didn't really have time to do a full tied-up ending. And it feels like a lot of the flow of this movie was disrupted for this climax, which is fine, but it's not as fiery and as big as it could have been, in my opinion.
Just because your climax ends with a train explosion, that doesn't make it a climax. You know, that makes it it makes it an ending to a scene. But by this point, we've already had like 3 climaxes already. I'm sure the women out there love it. No, we have 3 climaxes already to the point where when we do the actual ending, it's like, okay, well, I'm kind of done now. Like,
yeah.
At least they do layer the end of this movie, the credits, with some more leftover channels and things to play us out on a better note. But it doesn't really wrap up the movie as much as it lets the movie stop.
Right. The only one that I remember was I Love Lucifer.
Yes, it's a good one.
And the Golden Ghouls.
Golden Ghouls. But yeah, that's Stay Tuned. Any final thoughts?
This movie is very ambitious. And a lot of this concept pays off for me, and a lot of it could have used a bit of retooling.
Mm-hmm.
But as is, it's fun. It gets a lot right. It's a good late night. It feels like a late night movie. Like it's on cable late at night, and they flip it on. And you're like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's not as good as it could be for me because of just some things it does.
Yeah, for me, it's been a while since I've seen bits of this movie. I haven't seen the full movie in length. And for me, a concept of a film can go really far with me. Like, if you have a really good concept and you execute it decently well enough, I'll like it. And it's not bad by any means. The fact that, like, it's like it got 10 million in the box office and it was critically panned, it's not worth the negative feed it got upon its release. It is a good movie. I think it is a victim of maybe it's a bit too ahead of its time for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe I don't think audiences were quite ready for that level of meta-ness in their television medium yet. Mm-hmm. But this wasn't a bad film. I had a good time watching it. I definitely remember it. You know, there are tons of movies out there with decent concepts that I just forget about. I won't forget this one.
I mean, I've been watching this, you know, for many, many, many years, and it's a good time. You know, it's something like you said, Jordan. It feels like a late night movie. Like it's one you can passively watch and have a good time, and it's got some good jokes. It has some good bits, but yeah, even though some stuff doesn't work, that probably didn't work then, and certainly doesn't work now. I mean, I would say that if you are 25 or younger, there might be some references that you don't get. You might not be able to appreciate some of those jokes, but I think this is something that if you wanted to, you can go and learn a little bit more about some of these shows, like, and then some great shows like Northern Exposure or what have you. But yeah, I think this is fun. This is definitely on par with the type of video store movies that we do on the show.
Also, just one more thing before we go here. Okay, the person who played Mr. Pierce in Stay Tuned, if they don't get him back for the TV show as the main baddie, I'm going to be a little bit annoyed at the missed opportunity. Because we end the movie with him living the intern's dream of taking over for the big boss. So it would be amazing if they just like established that the TV show is in continuity with the movie by having him be the new bad guy. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still acting according to IMDb. He did a recurring role on Dexter for about 6 years. and he's been recurring on The Good Fight on CBS All Access. So he could do it. He's still around.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not sure or if this is even going to come into play. I know they're developing it, so maybe we'll hear more soon.
And now, coming soon to video cassette.
So next time, Jordan and I are going to be talking about The Fugitive.
Yes. This has been a long time coming, this one, and I'm very excited to finally get to it.
Yes, I'm very excited too. So be sure to refill your prescription of Provasic.
Two movies in a row where I'm going to be doing a John Mulaney bit, I think.
Can't wait.
Oh, yeah. You know I'm going to bring it up.
And we've already got a few movies planned for October we're excited about. Oh, yeah. So we'll reveal more as we get closer to that. Yeah, let's give a little special thanks to our patrons. We have Lewis, Mondo, Ryan M, Ryan S, Jacob and Tab over at Test Pattern, Mike, Pete, Jack, Rich and Naomi from Bloody in Love, and Mark. Thanks, Mark.
I support my friends. That's what I do.
So if you want to become a patron or you're curious about how that works, you can head over to patreon.com/VericonVideo for more information. We have a $2 tier and a $4 tier. And we've got some bonus content over there, including some commentaries.
Yeah.
So that's all we got for today, folks. So thank you again, Mark, for coming on and joining us today.
It's been great. Jordan has told me great things about your brand, so I'm really happy that we're able to both equally share Jordan in our podcasting efforts. By the way, Jordan, I'm going to need you to watch some Looney Tunes shorts for our deep discussions.
I think I can do that. By the way, folks, if you want to see what me and Mark are cooking out at our other podcast, look for That's Not Quite All Folks on all of your podcast networks. Sorry if this is too much of a shameless plug, but we can't have, Mark's here. We might as well. It's some zany stuff. We talk about 2 or 3 Looney Tunes cartoons per episode. It's a lot of fun. We get really analytical, like I get analytical here. Give us a watch. We're just sort of starting out.
Yeah, I believe our most current episode is on the Roadrunner cartoons. We talk about 2 Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner shorts. So
nice,
exactly. So check that out as well. And again, Mark, thank you for coming on. This was a lot of fun.
Great to be on.
Well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Stay tuned, y'all.
That's all, folks. Hey.
Remember to rate and review the show on iTunes. If you have questions, send them an email at vericonvideo@gmail.com or call the Vericon Video hotline at 312-620-5560. They are also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Vericon Video. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for another exciting movie from the rental era.
Goodbye, Vietnam! That's right. I'm history. I'm out of here. I got the lucky ticket home, baby.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Jenny.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle. Bye-bye.
Do take good care of yourself.
What is this, your farewell speech? Going home. Have a good trip.
Hasta la vista, baby. I have to go.
Adieu. Auf Wiedersehen. Gesundheit.
Farewell.